Growing up, my dad would ask me each night, have you added value to someone's life today? And that he's been gone for 12 years, but that is exactly what drives me. And that's why the thought of retiring was that, talk about fearful. I'm going, what am I going to do with myself? And so that's really what drives me every day. And I think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, the most successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need. And that's how you can remind yourself and keep that energy and that motivation to get out of bed in the morning, reminding yourself, what problem are you solving and what need are you serving? Because that means you're adding value to people's lives every day.
Welcome to the Unstoppables. Yes, this is the place where we turn those ideas, those intents into real dollars, teaching you through the great ones, their voices, what made them unstoppable. Today, she's very unstoppable. She's been one of the most important people in changing my life. And you don't even know this yet, Sharon, but you will. Her name is Sharon Lechter. Welcome to the Unstoppables.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be with you.
Sharon, you are, and I would be here for an hour reading your bio, but you're an entrepreneur. You're an extremely established and best-selling author. The books you've written would fill a library. You are a philanthropist, an international speaker. You have a great stage presence. I had the honor of sharing a stage with you in San Diego. You are the most established author, of course, but a very, very regal and touching speaker as well. And I actually had lunch with you at 10X in Las Vegas. And I remember what you told me there. Change my phone. Put the girl on the phone, right? Get rid of that Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. If you were to take me from 30,000 feet, Sharon Lechter, down to where you are now, give me some background on how you got to this point.
Well, I'll give you my Cliff Notes version. I've been around a long time, so I've done a lot, but I started my career, neither of my parents went to college. So my sister and I were the first generation to go to college. I got my degree in accounting. I expected to join a big 8 accounting firm and retire as a partner. That was my course. And at the ripe old age of 25, when you know everything, of course, I said, if I'm going to work this hard, why should I work for someone else? I should work for myself. And so I had a client that offered me to join him in a new company. I wrote down why or why not, the pros and cons, and it didn't help me a bit. I could argue both sides. So why not became my theme. Why not try something different? And I haven't really ever looked back. Why not's kind of my personal mantra. Went with that client, make a long story short, I happened to meet my husband. And so we've been married 38 years, and then we moved to Wisconsin and met the inventor of the first children's talking books that had the sound strips down the side, and had the honor of joining him and working with him to take that and create a global brand and really, change the way children learn. So it was a very exciting time. In 91, we sold that company and moved to Arizona. And in 92, our oldest son went off to college. And from September to December, he had a really good time. He came home $2,500 in credit card debt. I was pretty upset with them, but I was more mad at myself. And it was where he went to college and they had the table, free pizza, free money, free towel, free money. And he signed up and got him, so he had a very good time, needless to say. So he came home and asked us to bail him out, and we said no. It was December of 1992, and that's really when I dedicated my career, the rest of my professional career, to financial literacy, financial education. Fast forward a few years, my husband called me. Robert Kiyosaki had come into his office with this idea for a board game. So I met Robert at the first beta test of cash flow. I was the only one who got out of the rat race, and I recognized the importance of the information that it teaches. So I volunteered just as a friend to help him get it commercialized because of my experience, my connections from the talking book industry. And then halfway through that, he wanted to charge $200 for the board game. So I suggested that he needs to write a pamphlet that kind of explains what the philosophy is. And that little pamphlet became Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So we became partners in September of 1997. We were partners for 10 years, wrote 15 books together, blessed with incredible success around the world, 100 countries, over 50 languages. But it was because people shared it. It was like viral marketing before the internet. So in 2007, We had different philosophies about what we want to do with the company. So I made the decision to leave. And sometimes you have to close one door for other doors of opportunity to open. And that's
True.
when I got the call from President Bush asking me to be on the first President's Advisory Council for Financial Literacy. Huge honor. I thought my legacy was Rich Dad. And the guy upstairs said, no, you have more to do. And a few months later, I got the call from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Now, I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 19. Didn't realize the impact it had on me until I was in my 30s. But we all know what was happening to the economy in 2008. So they wanted to reinvigorate the teachings of Hill. And so I've been working with them. My last three books were 3 Feet from Gold, Outwitting the Devil, and Think and Grow Rich for Women. So what an honor to be asked to step in, after having built the largest personal finance brand, to be asked to step into the largest personal development brand. And it's just been an incredible relationship. I have 3 more books in process right now with them. And then I have my own company, Pay Your Family First. And so that kind of brings you to where I am today.
You know, lost in my opening, and I want to make sure we bring this back out to be salient, is the impact that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, had on my life. I just started my company. I was into debt, had a brand new house. There was debt up, it was just all about debt. Read that book, learned about assets, liabilities, and from that moment made a conscious decision that I executed upon to get my way out of debt. And I did, paid off the house and became debt free. That is in my nature. I am debt averse. I will back your statement about viral marketing before the internet, because I recommend to this day that book to everyone I come across who has that debt load that's probably out of control. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for taking action. You know, I have a lot of people come up to me and say, oh, you changed my life. And I go, no, you know, if you change, you have to be proactive. You were, Bill, you took the action I'm glad that I've written something that inspired people to take action, but don't give up your power. Be proud of yourself for taking the action that you did. And that's something that's very important.
It's a great point. Don't give up your power. Don't give up your personal power. Don't give up your power. We're going to talk about personal power and development next. But I wanted, you know, the great thing about being on the show for me is to have the show is to learn from people like you. And I've learned something that I've never thought about before. So many people are in the dark searching for their why. That's the big thing. You know, Simon Sinek, the find your why, purpose. And people are trying to find their why. By asking the question, why not? Almost a cognitive shift, the dissonance. By asking why not, maybe you find your why.
Exactly. The why is your passion, right? But when you ask the why, you're waiting for someone else to tell you. You're not in control of your life. You're being reactive. And, you know, your show producer had said something about my one tip. And of course I say, live below your means. No, I don't say that. I say, you know, expand your means to live the life you want, or spend less than you earn. But really my number one tip for people is to not being reactive. When you're reactive, you're letting someone else control your life. Be proactive. Take control of your life as to what you want to do. And that's the why not. When you're asking why, you're waiting for someone else to give the answer. Why not comes from within. Why not take the path less traveled? Why not step outside your comfort zone? Why not do something different? Why not identify a problem and solve it, or identify a need and serve it? And that's really where entrepreneurship is, and that's where excitement is, to do something. Stepping out of your comfort zone is where you find magic.
And there's so much fear involved in taking those proactive steps, stepping outside of your comfort zone and taking that road like Robert Frost, less traveled. So much fear. You've got to overcome fear. How did you move through the fields of fear? You're 25, you knew it all, you're omniscient, right? Probably feeling like you're omnipotent. How did you take those first intrepid steps through fear?
Well, the part that I didn't I was trying to shorten my story, but when I made that decision to leave Coopers and Lybrand, and I went with this client, it was the worst business decision of my life. And so Napoleon Hill says, out of every adversity comes the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And it was I got up there and there was all kinds of corruption. I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to lose this CPA certificate. It was a terrifying time. But so I ran away for a couple of weeks to figure out what I was going to do. And I came back, and the company had been involved in some litigation. And so I met this young lawyer named Michael Lechter. And so I immediately had my seed of an equal or greater benefit. Sometimes we don't get instant feedback like that. But, and I think fear is Outwitting the Devil, which is the book that actually Napoleon Hill wrote as a sequel to Think and Grow Rich. And it was hidden away for 73 years. And I had the honor of bringing it out. And it really, just sitting and reading the original manuscript helped change my life dramatically, because fear is absolutely man-made. We do it to ourselves. We hold ourselves back, but there's different types of fear. And what I love about the book is it talks about, fear of poverty, fear of failure, fear of success, right? But I think pervasive in today's society is the fear of criticism, right? Keeping up with the Joneses, fear of what other people think of us. And therefore that makes us become more reactive. And I love what you just said about comfort, because I talk about the progression in life, what happens to so many of us. As kids, we're very curious, we're very creative. Then we go to school and we learn conformity, and we go through school and we go to college, maybe not, but we find a career and we become comfortable, right? And that comfort turns into complacency.
Yes.
So all of a sudden we start feeling like we don't have enough excitement in our life. Or then what happens is crisis in our life, and that crisis turns us into chaos. And how do we get out of the crisis and chaos? By becoming creative and curious again.
And the cycle continues because we get bored. We look for distractions, opiates, whatever form that gives us that comfort, and we start, and we're lost. Unless people are living under a rock, they've heard about Napoleon Hill. Most have probably read his books or his book. And if I'm doing my research correctly, I watched you on the YouTube channel, and in 1908, Napoleon Hill was tasked, correct, by Andrew Carnegie to find out the secrets of the key to successful people, what the personal development. And I think he's the seminal leader in personal development. If any motivational, inspirational speaker follows Napoleon Hill. 25 years later, right, through the Depression, 1933, he comes out with the book, Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. Now, in that book, chapter 11 it is, and I have it turned to chapter 11 because it's one of my favorite chapters, is a part about sex. I can imagine this playing today. Napoleon Hill says, the world is ruled and the destiny of civilization is established by the human emotions. People are influenced in their actions, not by reason so much as by feelings. I'll tell you, Sharon, I made a living off of believing that people buy from emotion first, and they validate their thoughts with logic. Now, the Napoleon Hill family said some of this stuff might not sell in mainstream. Is that correct on this?
Right.
I actually read, there was a person in the gym listening to a download of Outwitting the Devil and said, you like Napoleon Hill, come over here. He said, you ever hear this book? And I went, man, that sounds pretty cool. So I read that book about 4 years ago and loved it. Good. Tell me about the family talking with you about, this is kind of salacious, it's kind of sexist, it's got religion in here. We need you to change it. What a great honor to have what a tremendous honor for you. What would that feel like?
It was incredible. And I wouldn't have gotten the call either from President Bush or from the foundation had I still been at Rich Dad. And so I tell people sometimes you have to close one door for other doors to open for you. But when I got that call from Don Green, head of the foundation, he said, we don't really know what to do with this manuscript, because he wrote it right after the release of Think and Grow Rich, because even though it was hugely successful, he was frustrated because he says, even though people know what they're supposed to do, they don't do it. And so in a few short months, he sat down and wrote, and he kind of says, he downloaded Outwitting the Devil. And his wife was afraid of it. She worked for the church. And so she forbid it to be published, and it got put away into the vault. And he died in 70, she died later. And her sister just passed away a few years ago, and her husband finally gave it to the foundation. And so the month we released 3 Feet from Gold, which was the first book I did with them, he sent me the manuscript, and literally it was, oh my gosh, it was an incredible experience, because of course it was on a typewriter, right? Handwritten, and then he had handwritten notes through it. And it was just like, I felt like I was channeling him. I ran over to San Diego where I do most of my writing and sat there and read it in just a few hours. It really helped transform me. And it really was heartfelt from a standpoint of, sometimes there's fear that we don't know. So when I talk to people about money, I go, what did your parents say about money? Bill, what did your parents say about money?
Yeah, save it, save it. It was all about, it was all that, scarcity doesn't grow on trees. Yeah, my dad used to say, if you want money, go on the back tree and pick it. Yeah, so it doesn't grow on trees.
Pinch your pennies. We can't afford it. And what do all those statements have in common? Negative.
Yeah, scarcity.
Grow up as children, we hear money negative, money negative, money negative. And so no wonder we're afraid we're never going to have enough money. No wonder we develop a scarcity mindset. And so once we can really see that and analyze it, we can let it go and realize we do live in a world of abundance, and we have the ability to be proactive and control our own future.
People listen to you. People say, she sounds to me like a super person with this DNA that she can actually take those steps through fear and she just moves through it. So if I was going to say that could be true, but what would be a tactic that you could share with the audience to say, okay, here's fear. You see it. It's this. It's invisible for the most part. It's just part of your imagination flourishing. You understand it. How do you take those first steps? So what would you coach them on?
Well, I think first you really have to recognize it as an emotion. And let me talk about a small piece of it. There's a definition that I found 10 years ago that has impacted my life, because I'm like the queen of worry, and worry is all based in fear. Oh, yeah. And to worry is to pray for what you don't want. So think about it. You're focusing on the negative outcome. And of course, Napoleon Hill was the first person to write about the law of attraction. And so when you focus on negative things, what you get? Negative results. And so it's really helped me when I catch myself because I still get into my little personal worry storms, but I catch myself and I go, Sharon, stop focusing on negative outcomes. And I stop and I retrain my brain to focus on what I do want to have happen. And it's magical. It really helps you change your disposition. It helps you change your outlook, and it helps you change the results in your life. And so I know everyone watching this has had an experience that says, I'm worried about this. I'm fearful of what's going to happen in this meeting, and you just are sick about it. And then the meeting happens and it wasn't that bad. We create this fearfulness. And one of the things that I get most concerned about with people that do worry, or their guilt, like work-life balance issues, that's not, we have one big life. And when you're worrying, when you're spending precious time today in fear, then you're wasting today. What happened yesterday, just learn from it, but make better choices today. And that's something that is so important. When you are in fear, you're wasting precious time. Address it and ask yourself, the first thing I say, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? Face it up here and here, and then move forward and make positive, proactive steps to get through it.
I think that's one of the best 2 minutes in anything in all my serious radio shows I've done in all the Unstoppables. That's probably the best 2 minutes on any show. If the listener can go back and rewind that and play that. And I share this with you. If you ruminate about the past, you have to learn from it. But if you ruminate and bring that with you into your present, you shut down any opportunity for the present and foreclose your future. And I think worry is that thing that takes away a lot of energy to do those things that can change the outcome or influence the outcome, if you may. So I am with you on that. Some of the best 2 minutes in our show business. I will tell you that. 3 feet from gold. Think and grow rich, 3 feet from gold. Okay, you started. You're executing. And then people get to that point where they are 3 feet from gold and they stop. What would you say to those people?
It's due to fear. And a lot of it is fear of success. And one of the things that we learned when we did 3 feet from gold, we wanted to talk to people about not just their success, but what they did through the tough times, through the valleys. And so we interviewed successful people back in that period, 2008, 2009, before we released it, to get a sense of what was different about them. And we actually came up with the personal success equation. And that personal success equation is P plus T, which is passion plus talent. So that's all about you. What do you care about? What's your passion? What's your why? What's your talent? What's your experience, work experience, education? It's all about you. And most people stop there and they try to make a business on their own. but business is a team sport. So the rest of the equation is times A, power of association. I love the fact that I now have my association with you. Times A, taking the right action, again, being proactive. Too many of us know what we're supposed to do, but we don't do it. And then we almost went to press with that as the equation. I said, no, there's something that makes these people different, and it's plus F. And for most of us, that plus F is fear, and that's what holds us back. But these people, that F is faith. They had faith in what they were doing. They had faith that it was needed and necessary. They had faith that they would succeed. And that's what helped get them through the negative times. We all have down times. We all have fearful times. The issue is, do we confront it and convert it? Because fear does one of two things. Fear paralyzes us, which is what it does to most of us, or it can motivate us. Mm-hmm. And so my goal when I speak with people and I work with people is to get them to recognize we're not going to ever eliminate fear, but let's turn fear away from paralyzing us, because most of us, we want to get smaller. We want to get in a dark room. We're afraid, right? And what we're going to do is take that fear and turn it into motivation to say, I'm going to get past this. I'm going to get past this. And sometimes, we have a life-changing experience, and that, 5.5 years ago, I lost my youngest son. It changed my life. And it was just in the last few months when I finally decided I'm coming back out with this whole new branding, because something like that redefines everything in your life. Things that were important to me were no longer important. And there's nothing, there's nothing on earth worse than losing your child. And yes, all my life I had been proactive. I had played big. And then all of a sudden I turned into a reactive mode. Luckily, I'd built a strong enough presence and reputation. I've stayed busy, but I haven't been engaged like at the level that I like to be. And so in recognizing that in the last few months, it's like, okay, I'm ready to play big again. I'm ready to be proactive. And that's my whole new branding is the play big again, and the play big movement. And it's to be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact, which is exactly what you're doing and what we're all doing. So
first of all, my condolences for your loss.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking of something in your formula that if I was with you right now, I'd give you a hug. And I would say this. One of the most important parts of the formula to me is talent. Because people can come out, get out of bed, and have the greatest attitude. It is necessary, but it is not the only thing. And people think if I have the attitude, I can change everything. No, it's essential, but it's not the only thing you have to have. You have to have the talent. You have to be in the right industry, the right place, the right thing that suits your talents, or you have to grow the skill set to be able to execute. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you're hoping, you're wishing. So I'm going to copy that formula, and I'm going to go with those two big buckets of fear that are loss and change. And I'm going to bring that out to people. If I could only do it as elegantly as you just did it. I think I need to work on my elocution, because the way you said that was not only mesmerizing, I was following you. I don't know. I have a staccato way of chopping things up, and you have this elegant prose. I'm just trying to capture that.
That's my talent, and your talent is
it's just pounding this thing, right?
That is your talent. So don't minimize. You don't try to be me. You'll be effective.
Big hug.
Yes, thank you.
Tell me about Think and Grow Rich for Women. Where's the departure? Where did you make this pivot, if you will? And
thank you. Actually, thanks for asking that question, because it's one of for most of my career, I refrained from doing anything for women, because I have always believed, certainly I was in my career, one of the first women in my career. So I really feel the steps to success are the same for men and women. But over the last 10 years, I got really frustrated with the number of women that were so negative and criticizing and mad at men. And I love men. I love working with men. I said, we need to stop criticizing, because what do we do when we complain? We bring negative results. So we need to celebrate other women. Is there more progress that needs to be made? Of course, but let's celebrate the progress that has been made. And then also the paramount stuff on work-life balance, which just drives me nuts, because there is no balance in life. We're making choices every day. Balance belongs in the yoga studio or the ballet studio. In life, we have our physical life, our financial life, our business life, our family life. we are all of that combined. And
Yeah.
every day we are making choices on how we're going to live our one big life. And so when Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, as you said, in 1908, there were no women in business.
Mm.
And so when it came out, he interviewed 500 of the wealthiest men in the world. And so I thought, well, let's honor his work. And so the Think and Grow Rich for Women starts each chapter the same outline as the original book. I honor his philosophy for each chapter. And then I look at that chapter through the eyes of successful women. And then I talk about how I've used that concept in my own career. And then I have a series of motivational quotes from women. And I have over 300 women highlighted in the book, women today in all white walks of life, women from history. And it really is to focus and help women reading it say, you know, a lot of people say easy for him to say.
Mm-hmm.
And they might even read Think and Grow Rich and read a story from a woman and say, yeah, easy for her to say. They don't pay attention to that. But the next story they read may say, yeah, if she can do it, so can I. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, everyone listening here, it's that fear, but it's also human nature for us to say, yeah, easy for Sharon to say that, easy for Bill to say it. And I get it. I was like that a lot early in my career, poo-pooing, you know, yeah, buts. It's the yeah, buts in life. And, you know, I started with nothing and worked very, very hard. And there's so much material out there to help you take control of your life and really create the life you want. It's just, you have to, don't allow that fear to hold you back.
And the audience would be remiss, and I would castigate anyone who doesn't do this. How do they find you? Because so much of this material is seminal, it's brilliant, and it is impactful if you execute. Where do we find Sharon Lechter?
SharonLechter.com, SharonLechter.com. I'm on Facebook. I have the author Sharon Lechter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. So I'm pretty easy to find. Sharon Lechter. Please come see me. You can email me at info@SharonLechter, and be happy to hear from you. And certainly want to support you, Bill, and have you on my podcast.
Absolutely. I'd love to. You know, as a person that's a hammer, metaphorically speaking, everything in life to me looks like a nail. And you said this again so eloquently, but I have said on stages throughout the country and some international that it is not the scope of, it's not business and life as separate subsets. It is all life. This is life. And if you don't overcome that fear, or not, you maybe never will overcome it, but if you don't take the steps through it and marginalize it, and it will diminish it, you're never going to be able to move forward. And life is about moving forward. We don't support stasis. The species will not support staying the same. Right. It won't. We've hit on some great stuff, but I really want to get into some granular things here. What do you consider, Sharon, to be your biggest failure, and let the audience know what you learned from it?
Well, business failure versus personal failure. So my biggest failure definitely is how I lost myself when I lost my son. And that's something that it's taken me a long time. In fact, Greg Reed, my co-author of 3 Feet, he doesn't even know this. I have to call him. Last week we were on a call, and he says, I was just speaking for him, and he says, you've really changed. You've gotten more comfortable in your own skin. And I said, well, and it made me realize that I've actually forgiven myself. And not that when something like that happens, you blame yourself, you feel fear, regret, worry, shame, you know, why him, not me? And so that's by far, I mean, before that, I can give you a few business issues that I would consider failures. But that one was the biggest thing that stopped me in my tracks, and not something I wish on anyone else. But there's a reason I'm still here, and I can hear him actually up there saying, get over it, Mom. And so this whole new branding that I'm doing is really in his honor. So.
I was asked this question, and I do a metaphor about the park bench of regret, where we can, at a certain point, if we play it forward in our thoughts, we're looking at ourselves, our future self, at a place and stage where we can't do those things now that we can do. We can't make the changes. Can you, in your way, define the difference between regret and remorse?
Wow. Well, regret is, I think remorse from, in my perspective, and I didn't know this question was coming, so I'll just give you from my heart. I think remorse is a deeper emotion. Remorse is something that eats away inside.
Yeah.
I mean, you can regret something, but not let it stop you in your tracks. I think remorse is something from my perspective, that festers inside. Yes. And keeps you from living life today.
Yes. Thank you for that explanation. What is next for you? Because you're a forward person. You go through fear. You've overcome much, and you will still keep moving. That's part of the always forward, unstoppable mentality. So what's next for you?
Well, in the last year, beginning of the last year, I started thinking of slowing down and saying, you know, maybe it's time for me to look at actually retiring. And didn't feel too good. And I certainly got a lot of pushback from my family and friends. And that's really when I did a lot of soul searching on myself. And I said, but I wasn't good, because I was just coasting. I've been coasting. I've been in what I call in autopilot, staying really busy, still traveling a lot, still speaking, and certainly making an effort to impact my audiences. But I wasn't playing big. You know, when I did the Talking Book, we went after Disney and Warner Brothers. When I did Rich Dad, we went over Time Life and Warner Books, always looking for the bigger players and really creating the largest brand I could. And so I'm talked to my family, and they all basically said, we've been waiting for you to do this, Mom. And so this year, in the next month or so, I'm going to be relaunching my Play Big movement, which is, again, putting myself in overdrive and ready to get out there and do feel good about being proactive, not reactive.
You have vitality and vibrancy, and we need you on that wall. That's why we won't let you get off the wall. We need you on that wall. Sharon, you know, if you look through the opus of your career, you look through all of those achievements, accomplishments, you could have said the heck with this a long, long, long time ago. What is it that pulls you forward, that compels you? It can't be the money, it can't be the fame. What is it that compels you to make that difference?
Well, growing up, my dad would ask me each night, have you added value to someone's life today? And that he's been gone for 12 years, but that is exactly what drives me. And that's why the thought of retiring was that, talk about fearful. I'm going, what am I going to do with myself? And so that's really what drives me every day. And I think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, the most successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need. And that's how you can remind yourself and keep that energy and that motivation to get out of bed in the morning, reminding yourself, what problem are you solving and what need are you serving? Because that means you're adding value to people's lives every day. And I hope that I do that until I decide to go to another plane.
I would like for you to bring something to the audience, because the entrepreneurs who are listening may need to hear this from you. And then we're going to wrap it up with one final question. But I would like for them to hear from you what you value, because it's on your phone. Do you have your phone with you? Is that what you're using right now? Your phone? What's most important in life? It's family.
My grandchildren.
Right. It's family.
Family. Yep.
Family's what's most important. It's family.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
That's what it's all about.
Okay, you're going to write that paragraph. You've gone on to the next plane. Your vibrancy and vitality is lived forward by the family. So they're living the legacy that you created. They're creating their own legacy. But if you could write one paragraph about what you learned from your experiences on this planet that would help them, it would shorten that distance and lessen the pain. One paragraph, Sharon Lechter, sharing it with your family so they can share it with others. What would that paragraph look like?
Every choice you make will determine whether you create success or not in your life. And don't ever give up your own power. Stand in your own power. And when you become reactive, you're giving up that power. And so stay proactive and understand that there is no limit to the possibility of what you can create. And there is no limit to what anyone watching this can create in your life. You just need to start. If we are where we are today because of the choices we made before today. So if you want something different in your life, make different choices starting today, and you will create something better.
Ma'am, I told you lately that I love you. Because when you talk about standing in your power, boom, that's it. You were beyond fantastic.
Hammer and nail? Am I doing a hammer and nail?
Yeah. I've learned so much from this. I'm going to replay it. And I will tell you, I loved having you on the show. You were extremely valuable and vital to all of us. And you have so much to share. And God bless you. I love you.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sharon. Wonderful.
Bye.